Buenos dias, Yatae. I will be honest in sharing that this is my first time on the stage giving an actual land acknowledgement. And I share that because while I've listened to many, and they all have come from well-intentioned parts of people, I don't want this to be performative. I would really like for everybody to take a moment to really consider where you are. And I'll share a little bit about my own background and then also about the background of this place, Ogapoge, the place of white shell, which is also known as Santa Fe. So I come from Tortugas Pueblo. Many people have actually not even heard of Tortugas Pueblo. It's here in New Mexico. It's down in the southern part of the state, right near the border with Texas and Chihuahua, Mexico. We are actually sister tribe to Taos and Isleta Pueblos. We are Tiwa peoples, but we are also of mixed heritage. I myself am mestiza, meaning of mixed bloods. I walk in multiple worlds in that sense. On my mother's side, I have Mescalero Apache and Tiwa, and then I also have from my father's side, Caribbean, French, and Irish. My last name is Irish. And so as one who does walk in multiple worlds, I find it very interesting to be of a place, but also in search of a place. As a state-recognized tribe, which is very different than a federally recognized tribe, my tribal community has never been allotted lands. My homelands, my ancestral homelands, are actually where the New Mexico State University campus is. A mountain is actually Tortugas Mountain. Our feast days are on December 12th, as they coincide with Our Lady of Guadalupe, and also on June 24th for St. John the Baptist. Our tribal community is open in that sense for folks to come and visit. And so, as some of you may be from here and maybe have never heard of Tortugas, or some of you who maybe are brand new to this place, I would like to really express just the fact that while we have over 500 federally recognized tribes across this country, or what many of us indigenous people refer to as Turtle Island for North America, there are also just as many unfederally recognized tribes across this country. And this is shared space. We've all had complicated pasts, the way our peoples have come here or been moved about. And I don't necessarily want to dismiss those types of circumstances because they are sincere and they play out through over generations, and they're still playing out today, emotionally, mentally, and physically. But physically, this is where we are right now. And I would like for us to imagine what this place was like so long ago, what it was like before any of us were actually here, and before even our parents or grandparents were here. Some of us will have had people who are already here, relatives. But one of the things that I would really like to share with everybody is no matter who you are or where you come from, you can all trace your ancestry back to some indigenous community somewhere across this globe, whether it's across the pond, whether it's a few states away, whether it's on a whole other continent. So with that, I would like to share a little bit. There's a beautiful actual historical piece that's on dancingearth.org. It was actually written by Dr. Esteban Rael Gavez and finalized by local community members. And so I wanted to share a little bit of the history here of Santa Fe for those who may not be familiar with the real Santa Fe and how it came to be, as we call it, Ogapoge. So White Shell Water Place. Thousands of years ago, it was a center place for the communities of northern and southern Tewa, often identified as Tanos. The living memory and stories told by the people of Tatsuge Owinge, which is Tsuke Pueblo, what we call today, hold profound meaning to this day, revealing that the ancestral site, Ogapoge Owinge, is Tatsuge, and Tatsuge is Ogapoge Owinge still. We acknowledge that this place is also part of a much larger sovereign landscape for Indigenous peoples. The chronicle of its headwaters are woven into the origin stories of Nambe Pueblo. The clays surrounding the site were a resource for both Tewa people and the Jicarilla Apache, and it is a place where stories are braided into and from the past by the Dene or Navajo. Cochiti, Taos, and Hopi Pueblos are more still not yet told. We acknowledge Spanish settlement occurred over 4 centuries ago and was as much about the possession of place as it was about the displacement of people. From that beginning, La Villa Real de la Santa Fe was made up of colonists from Spain, Mexico, France, Greece, and Portugal. There were also Africans and many Indios Mexicanos, whose displacement may have begun in captivity but lived as free men and women. There were also thousands of enslaved Indigenous people who came to be labeled Genisaro, Criado, and Famulo, and whose identities were listed in ecclesiastical records as Apache, Comanche, Dene, Kiowa, Pawnee, Paiute, and Ute. Hundreds more were simply listed in the records as Mexican Indians. Complex castas stemmed from these origins, including people labeled as colores quebrados, colores revueltos, colores sospechos, coyotes, and mestizos. 2.5 centuries after these first Euro-Mestizo settlements were formed, the push and pull of migration from every direction has brought new people to this place, including individuals and families from nearly every single state in the nation and from several other countries. The convergence of cultures and the profound and beautiful complexity of identity that is layered across 4 centuries of presence here, and beyond that, is reflected in the intricately woven genealogy of our local residents. So for those that continue to live in this place, generational or recently arrived, all must recognize the astonishing complexity of this magnificent and sovereign landscape and its people. Acknowledgement also requires holding both the beauty and the pain and supporting ongoing dialogue and story sharing, all of which reflect a vibrant and equitable community. Together we are the stewards of this land, of its water and of its air, and each other. Our breath, like the breath of those that precede us, will be left for those that follow us. And so above and beyond sharing the history of this place, and knowing now that it's shared space, we must not forget that these are unceded lands. And so as we look to tend and steward the land and encounter wonderful people here at this conference and exchange wonderful stories of our paths, of our trials, of our triumphs, let us also remember that these lands were once cared for more directly by others. And I would really encourage everybody to think about how we can make that more equitable. Thank you.